one. So when the Los Angeles Lakers went and traded for Russell Westbrook, it was a real question mark, right? It was like, how is this going to fit? How is this going to work? Is LeBron James really going to be able to sacrifice and make the changes and play off the ball to fit with Russ? Or is LeBron going to be the ball handler and Russ is going to what? Be a slasher, right? And many people compared it to, Dwayne Wade, that Dwayne Wade was in very similar-esque type of player, couldn't really shoot the three very well, was more of a slasher, just athletic type guy. And look, LeBron was able to make it work with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, so of course he can make it work with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis. And Russ, he's a primary ball handler. He can kind of take a lot of the pressure off of LeBron James and really help in those aspects. And the first year, it really didn't go well, right? to put it nicely. It was a very unfortunate season last season. This season, it started looking a little tricky. Then they were able to convince Russ, and credit to Russell Westbrook for making the sacrifices and making the changes to come off the bench and be the sixth man. And since then, the Lakers have really turned it around, right? Anthony Davis has emerged into being one of, if not the best player in the league when he's healthy, which is a big concern, of course. LeBron James is still playing like LeBron James. He's still playing like 28-year-old LeBron James, and absolutely incredible. Russ has evolved into just this playmaker, and it seems like he's starting to figure out how to put the scoring with the assists. And if that happens, that could take the Lakers to another level. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They're only like a game out of a playoff spot, not even a play-in spot anymore, but a playoff spot. The Western Conference is so wide open. The Lakers really are in a good position, right? Are they going to make a trade? What's going to end up happening, right? And with that, there's always been that connection of the Lakers and the Big Three in Miami. It took some time for Miami to figure it out. They didn't win their first year either, although they did make it to the NBA Finals. Still, they lost to a Dallas team that many people believe Miami should have beaten, and then they figured it out, won 2 championships, and then ended up losing to the San Antonio Spurs. LeBron ends up departing. But that Big Three had question marks from day one. Yeah, they were all, top 5 players at their position, but it was a real awkward position, right? It was something like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Are they really going to be able to work? Chris Bosh, how is that going to work? And then Chris Bosh kind of evolved into this like 3-point shooter playmaker. He was best at center, kind of like Anthony Davis. Russ, although Dwayne Wade didn't come off the bench, but he kind of took a back seat to LeBron James, kind of like Russ has. He's taken a back seat and kind of became the sixth man, has became the sixth man. And because of this comparison, it's always been something that's been interesting. Like, this is kind of like a replica of Miami's Big Three. And we even got a report that says that the Lakers had dreams of recreating the Heat's Big Three by acquiring Russell Westbrook, which again makes perfect sense, right? LeBron James and Anthony Davis were the ones that wanted Russ, right? Rob Pelinka had other plans, other things lined up. Buddy Hield was one of them. I mean, the Buddy Hield trade got stopped because of Russell Westbrook, and the Sacramento Kings were not happy about that at all because the deal was done. And then LeBron James and Anthony Davis say, hey, we want Russell Westbrook. Rob Pelinka ends up backing out of the deal, and then shortly after, we go get Russell Westbrook. And it was this idea of like LeBron was able to make it work with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Of course he can make it work with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis. I think some of it had to do with coaching last season. Frank Vogel and Russell Westbrook just didn't see eye to eye. They just didn't work. And then this season, you have Darvin Ham, who just has really gotten to Russ to buy in and really believe in the plan, right, in the grand scheme of things. But it was also added, because this was presented by George Sedano from ESPN, and he said, it also kind of plays into the narrative, for better or worse, that Rob Pelinka loves him some stars. Again, said ESPN's George Sedano during a recent podcast appearance. And the Lakers love them some stars, and Russ is a star, and they felt they had a Big Three. So much so that I heard from a bunch of different people in different camps that they were like, oh, we're going to recreate the Big Three in Miami. Now, again, that makes a lot of sense. It's something that was talked about when the Lakers first got Russell Westbrook. It's something that's been talked about and compared to this day. And LeBron James was able to win a championship with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And in reality, like, this big three, if Anthony Davis is healthy, Anthony Davis is better than both Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade when he's healthy and playing the type of play that we saw him play, right? LeBron James is still playing like Miami, LeBron James, although defensively he's not as good. LeBron defensively in Miami was just an absolute monster, right? But he's still playing on the offensive side to that level. So you got a similar LeBron James. You got a basically Chris Bosh just souped up, right? And just a Superman version of Chris Bosh and Anthony Davis. And then you have Russell Westbrook, and who's, again, not the defender that Dwayne Wade was, but is and he can do a lot of things that Dwayne Wade can't, and vice versa. Now Russ is also much more athletic and just kind of has more of an engine and a motor than Dwayne Wade at that point, right? Dwayne Wade, especially after like the first 2 years, started suffering a lot of injuries, and it just kind of became a real question mark, and he sort of started the decline of his career. Russ is still full stride. Like, he's Mr. Reliable, knock on wood, he's been amazing. So it is very comparable. And LeBron was able to make it work with Dwayne Wade. And so far, it looks like LeBron and Russ have been able to make it work. During this stretch, since Anthony Davis has been out, the Lakers with Russ and LeBron James on the court, they're working. They're playing good. Right? Like, both of them are able to coexist, which was a thing that many didn't think it would. Now, is it the greatest fit ever? Of course not, right? It is clunky at times, right? Russ at times kind of just gets relegated to the corner still as like a spot-up shooter and stuff. But they're starting to run that pick and roll more, which is just absolutely lethal and deadly. They kind of have like this you go, I go at times as far as like playmaking goes. But Russ is really fully bought into the playmaker Russ. And that helps tremendously, right? Russ, he can go get a bucket if you need him to, right? And he's a guy that has that engine and that motor, and he gives the Lakers such a different look. And that is huge for the Lakers, especially the bench. Like, when Russ doesn't play, the bench is non-existent. Russ is the bench because he's the one that's generating the points through playmaking or scoring. And that is huge. And we've seen countless times this year where the Lakers are kind of stagnant, or they're off to a slow start. The other team will jump out to like a 14-4 run, and the Lakers are kind of like in this mud almost. Russ comes in and they immediately will go on like a 12-2 run or something, and it's just like, oh man, here it is. And it's so much so that it's been a question of like, why doesn't Darvin Ham start Russ at the third quarter? Because the third quarter has been such a huge issue for the Lakers. And a lot of it seems to just be that energy. Like, they don't have the same energy when they start the third as they do in the first and second. And so Russ could actually be that piece that give LeBron a little more rest, bring Russ in, and let Russ be the energizer. But let Russ take the leash off of Russ for a couple minutes. Let him just go crazy and let him go generate buckets and get some assists and all that stuff. It's really a nice comparison, in my opinion, of Miami and the Lakers. Now, we'll see if they can win a championship, right? Can this Lakers big three replicate what Miami's big three was able to do? That's a real question as well. Will Russ want to stay beyond this year? Now, if the Lakers, like, let's say the Lakers make it to like the Western Finals or something like that, I could see Russ sticking it around, right? Even if he takes less money, because he's home. And if they feel like they could win a championship, they feel like in reality, like, well, those three and like we're one piece away. Maybe if we get another season or two, and maybe it'll continue to improve and get better. And if it does, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, even this season, right? I've said it before that, like, if you had a time machine and you went into the future, came back, and he said, hey, I just want to let you know, the Lakers actually won the championship this year, I don't think anyone would be that surprised, right? Like, there might be some people that are like, no way. But I think most people would be like, okay, yeah, like, you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. You probably should win the championship if you get into the playoffs. And with the Western Conference just kind of all over the place, I do believe the Lakers have a real chance, even currently constructed. Now, I would like a move for some type of player or two. Name the players that you want down in the comment section. But if we could kind of unload, say, Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, maybe a Lonnie Walker, because I really don't think we're going to be able to keep him beyond this season. Say a Damian Jones, JTA, whatever, right? Whatever pieces you need that aren't really huge factors for you. If you could take those and some of your draft picks and assets to go get a player or two to add to these three guys, I really think the Lakers can compete with anybody. They've already shown that they can compete with the Milwaukee Bucks and, even Boston, right? Like they had a very solid game that they probably should have beaten Boston. And those are likely those two teams, one of them is coming out of the Eastern Conference. So that's the teams we have to really prepare for. I think when it comes to the West, there's not a team, even just currently constructed with Lakers, there's not a team at all that I look at and go, man, there is no way the Lakers beat that team in a 7-game series. I really think the Lakers match up well. I think they have the experience. They've won a championship already. Russell Westbrook has always had good playoff series. And the beauty of Russ right now is I don't think he's ever understood his role more than now, outside of like maybe early years in OKC, right? Every destination he's been at, the role has kind of been in question, right? Like he had the OKC days, the early OKC days, and then he transitioned to like being the guy, right? When Kevin Durant left, and that was it. But then like when he got Carmelo Anthony and Paul George, it was clunky. It was like, okay, well, do I be playmaker? Is this still my team? Am I still the guy? And it didn't really seem like guys knew their roles at times. Then, Houston, again, kind of doesn't seem like he knew his role. And it was really clunky, really awkward. Like, okay, am I the point guard? Is Harden the point guard? So then Russ, they kind of figured it out in a sense of, because like Russ just became a slasher. And as a slasher, he was able to create more and Harden was able to set him up, but it was still not great. Although many people actually had Houston, like a lot of experts had Houston potentially even coming out of the West. And even the Lakers matchup, a lot of people picked Houston to beat the Lakers because of Russ and James Harden, because they were really kind of figuring out and they were really hot at that time. So that was something else. But again, it was kind of awkward, kind of like, I don't really know. And then same thing with Washington. It was like, okay, yeah, like me and Bradley Beal, I'm averaging a 22-point a game triple-double, but it's kind of his team, and it's kind of you go, I go type thing. And then he goes to the Lakers that first year, and that was just an absolute mess and disaster. Didn't really know how, like, what am I just standing here? Am I slashing? Am I running? Like, what are we doing here, right? And then this season, finally, Darvin Ham was able to get him to understand, like, this is what I see and what I want your role to be. Play that role and we'll have success. And again, credit Russ. He decided to play that role and we've had success. And I think if these three can figure it out, it wouldn't be shocking to see the sort of Miami Heat success where they pull off and maybe win a championship or two. I wouldn't put it past them. Now, health is going to be a big thing, right? Can Anthony Davis stay healthy? Russ, again, knock on wood, hasn't really been a question ever about Russ and his health. LeBron James has been a model of health so far. So if they can stay healthy, I think they have enough firepower, definitely. It's just going to be, can the role guys step up, and how is this going to work? But I do think that this was an interesting report, and I thought it was something worth sharing, because this was something talked about even back then of like, okay, like this is, Miami Laker version. So makes sense that we'd get that report. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree? Yes, this is basically just Miami 2.0, just a different version. Do you think no, it's still very different? Do you think that they can have the success that Miami has if they were to maybe get a piece or two, or do you think that they can win now? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear them. Let me know down in the comment section below.